Why would a trial attorney talk about the McDonald's coffee case during the course of jury selection? You want to know why? Come join me as I share with you this great information. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury trial lawyer practicing law here in the state of New York. For those of you who don't remember, the McDonald's coffee case involved a woman named Stella Liebeck who took a cup of coffee from McDonald's and now placed it in her lap. And as a result of the coffee cup crushing, that coffee spilled all over her lap and now she suffered significant burns. She brought a lawsuit and the jury awarded her $3 million. And they were outraged that somebody could go ahead, buy a cup of coffee at McDonald's, suffer burns, and now win a lawsuit for $3 million. Well, let me share with you why it's so important to talk about that type of case in jury selection, in an accident case, or in a medical malpractice case, or even in a wrongful death case here in New York. One of the key reasons is that many of the potential jurors who come in and now are deciding whether or not this is the right type of case for them to sit on as a juror, we have to explore their bias, we have to explore their experience and see whether or not there's something in their history that might prevent them from sitting as a juror in our case. Some people may think, that's outrageous, I can't believe that she abused the legal system to try and get compensated for some burns on her legs. Other people may turn around and say, hey, that wasn't enough money to compensate her. So my job as an attorney who's representing an injured victim is to try and explore and engage with these people to determine if there's anything in their background or anything that they think about that type of case that they either agree with or disagree with. It gives me an insight into what they're thinking. And here's why. If I came right out and asked a room full of potential jurors, by the way, is anybody here prejudiced? Do you think anybody's going to raise their hand? Nobody's going to raise their hand. But instead, if I turn the question around and say, listen, are you a little closer to the people who think that it was okay for this woman to be awarded $3 million? Or are you a little closer to the people who think it was an abuse of the legal process for her to go ahead and sue McDonald's for her injuries? And now we begin a conversation. And it is critical. And by the way, in case you don't know this, the reason why Stella Liebeck, who is a woman who was burned, had to go ahead and sue McDonald's is because McDonald's refused to pay for her medical bills. You want to know why the jury turned around and gave her $3 million as compensation? During the course of the lawsuit, it turns out that McDonald's intentionally set their coffee to 180 degrees. They wanted it to stay fresh longer. And they knew and they recognized and accepted the fact that this was likely going to cause burns to people who spilled their coffee. And they were willing to accept that risk. They figured, hey, we're going to make this amount of money by selling all this coffee at this temperature. Now we recognize and acknowledge that a certain number of people throughout the country are going to get burned and scalded from this high temperature coffee, and we're going to accept that risk. The jury was outraged when they heard that, especially coming from the words of McDonald's themselves. And that to the jury was outrageous. And just to finish up the story, it turns out that even though the jury felt this woman deserved to be compensated $3 million, she ultimately only walked away with a fraction of that amount. So why do I share this great information with you? I share it with you to give you an insight and an understanding to how jury selection works, especially if you're an injured victim deciding whether or not to bring a lawsuit in the first place. You know, I realize you're watching this because you likely have questions or concerns about your own particular matter. Well, if your matter did happen here in the state of New York and you do have legal questions, what I encourage you to do is pick up the phone and call me. I can answer your legal questions. You know, this is something I do every single day and I'd love to talk to you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at Oginski-law.com. That's it for today's quick video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a wonderful day.